Face front, true believers. Blue Dragon 5 here. Along with Superbilly.
Hello.
Over 10 years ago, Marvel's Daredevil stood above the rest and showed us the quality storytelling other shows were blind to. Now, with its official return, the burden falls to us to discern the truth by asking the question, will the new show measure up to the original? Join us as we start Discerning Daredevil, Born Again! Tonight, we are talking Season 2, Episode 3, The Scales and the Sword. So, we have Superbilly on, join us for some Daredevil. I mean, it's real quick, Superbilly. I mean, overall, what's the litmus test for you with the show?
Well, at first, I binge watched the first 3 episodes of the second season, and I consulted a recap for the first season. And at first, I wasn't terribly invested. I don't know. I could see what they were trying to do. There were a lot of aspects of it I liked, but ultimately, I just didn't find it all that compelling. But upon my second viewing of the episodes, particularly episode 3, I did grasp onto it a little more. I did get more emotionally invested, and I found the plot and the story more compelling than I did initially. So it's not the best thing ever. I have issues with it, but it's a lot better than I thought at the first go around. So I'm looking forward to future episodes, and I'm actually glad I finally got started watching this show.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's start breaking down episode 3. And of course, the way we do that is the plot. So here's the plot of the episode in a nutshell. So thanks to Heather Glenn falsifying the psych eval on Jack Duquesne and Fisk controlling the courtroom, the swordsman is found guilty. We end up during the trial. Matt Murdock ends up hearing the details, and some help from the inside, thanks to Kirsten, allows them the way in to Red Hook to find out what the heck's going on. So they have a little infiltration plan, which ultimately turns into a breakout when they realize just how many people are indeed captured, being held prisoner. This results in Kingpin blowing up the Northern Star, the cargo, and the crew. All ultimately to frame Daredevil and the vigilantes for this act of terrorism. And that's the end of the episode, more or less. Okay, so let's move on to the arcs. Let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the episode and see how things are tracking along for our characters. So, where we like to start, Matt Murdock.
Well, yeah, I think, frankly, I think you can get into the grittier, more specific details regarding the individual character arcs, but frankly, I think every single character arc in this show sort of hinges on the central theme or one of the central themes of this season, which is moral fortitude versus moral compromise, maintaining your principles in the pursuit of justice in the face of overwhelming odds and in the face of overwhelming corruption. And I think we sort of allude to that. I think they're sort of building towards a moral, ethical conflict between Daredevil and Karen Page, which sort of mirrors the conflict he had with Punisher in season 2 of Netflix Daredevil, where she's becoming increasingly disillusioned and demoralized by the asymmetrical warfare at play, where she's tired of the lack of accountability. She's tired of the lack of progress. She's tired of the amount of power these brazenly corrupt, evil people have. No matter what they do, they still have to follow the rules. They still have to, follow their principles. And yet there's no pretense of even appearing to do that on the other side. So she sort of, goes into, she mentions Frank Castle. She sort of discusses his whole philosophy and his approach to quote unquote hero work. And she basically alludes to the fact that, it's kind of alluring, it's like, yeah, it's wrong. It's against our principles. It's nihilistic, but it gets stuff done. And it sort of creates and draws a really interesting parallel where Karen, even though you understand where she's coming from, she starts to sound a lot more like Kingpin the more she goes on, more authoritarian, more the ends justify the means. And Matt recognizes that, and he tries his best to sort of, um, veer her away from the darkness. We gotta believe in the system. It might be broken, it might be, it might be compromised, but it's still there. It's still worth salvaging. Don't descend into nihilism and completely betray your principles. Otherwise we've lost the fight. Don't become a murderer. Don't be fueled by vengeance and hatred. Otherwise we're no different from the people we're fighting.
Of course, in a
And
way, it's kind of like Daredevil and Punisher, like the devil and angel on her shoulder in a sense. Only it's kind of
pretty much,
reversed.
yeah, exactly. That's a really no, that's great. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, I think.
Yeah,
And I want to say this too. It was kind of funny. It's a good scene. It's a nice exchange between Matt and Karen. It's relatively well written, even though some of the dialogue verges on cliche. And yes, we've seen this. We've been witness to this. What do you call it? Moral, ethical conundrum before. We've heard these discussions before. We've explored these themes before. A lot of the dialogue is if you've heard before, but it's still really well written and the performances are really strong. What was funny is that during that scene, as good as it was, it it kind of made me laugh because the whole time Matt is shirtless and bristling with muscle, and I was like, I bet the people, not so much the writers, but the producers of the show or the studio execs were like, this is all fine and dandy and nice, exposition scene, also an exploration of theme and character and build and setting up what's going to happen in the future, but like, we got to make this scene more interesting, for certain demographics. So let's have Matt with his bristling muscles just stand there
now,
shirtless.
to be fair, okay, to be fair, compared to the usual Marvel like stipulation, if we need a shirtless, superhero in shot, um, at least with Daredevil, I mean, there's storytelling on the shirtless. I see all the scars and everything that he's gotten that do actually track with like all the past injuries in the show. I mean, that's really cool.
No, no, no. It's really great. And that's what I appreciate about Daredevil compared to other superheroes, not just in the MCU, but generally, where it's like you're always witness to the physical toll this job takes on him. It's like he's always scarred, he's always bloodied, he's always bruised. You know, so often like these other superheroes, particularly in the MCU, that just have these massive fights and come away almost completely unscathed, or even if they are staved, it's not all that devastating, and they recover almost instantaneously. But Daredevil, he seems to be in a perpetual state of being like physically debilitated, or dilapidated rather. Like it's and that's something I really appreciate. So no, no, that aspect of it was good, but I just couldn't just couldn't take that funny thought out of my head that I think they're trying to like make this seem more interesting to certain demographics by having him be shirtless the whole time
Yeah,
he's delivering that speech.
sure. So I guess to start breaking them down, like maybe it's the kind of bullet pointed here a little bit. So Matt, in this episode I saw a lot of season one. In general, with like this and episode two, and of course the way in which they kind of premiered it with the whole like basically. I still don't know quite the reason, but like each season, there's always going to be like one that they're kind of paired together. And in the first season, they did that. I suspected because they were desperate to get him back in the suit. And we had a really good standalone episode, but he was full on Matt Murdock that whole episode, and this was like trailing on for a while. I was like, okay, if we don't put him back in the suit, we don't have him and Kingpin reestablish their roles, and people are going to riot. They're going to leave. So that's kind of what I did in the first season. This season was just more of like I think if I'm a betting man, I want to say if there's a reason, it was episode four is going to have a lot of really big stuff in it, so we gotta pave the way there. We don't want to make people wait too long for episode four. So I think it's a similar logic, would be my guess. But also, like a big story thing happens in this episode towards the end, so it's also maybe a little one-two punch. You're like, okay, people are interested. We got to give them something that's really gonna like kind of hook them, and then we're gonna go in for the kill with episode four. Fingers crossed. Anyway, sorry, it's a long-winded way of me saying I like that with this whole we're trying to take down Fist thing we've been kind of going strong with for the first three episodes. There is a lot of original season one Matt Murdock here, and like the game of chess that he's playing with the Kingpin, trying to get one over on him. And the whole first season of Daredevil was the whole by episode eight he's trying to drag him in the light, and he almost does it, and then Kingpin, it goes public. Wilson Fisk goes public, and Ben Urich's article becomes pointless, and Matt Murdock gets so angry, he smashes the computer, like he knocks it. That's end of the episode. We're kind of back to that space where it's basically Nelson and Murdoch, and ultimately Nelson, Murdoch, and Page. They're working on this effort to get him legally and everything. So I like that it's Matt Murdock going up against a stacked deck in the casino of New York. That's kind of I just love seeing him kind of go back to that. And in this specific episode, it's like the lawyer in him is coming back slowly but surely, despite him being really kind of the tools of the trade. With him being a lawyer, has to be kind of taken away from him because Matt Murdock is officially missing, and right now, the vigilantes need to kind of rise up, and he's become again Daredevil himself is becoming more of a symbol, hence the DDs, etc. He so Daredevil kind of needs to stand alone a little bit here this season. So it's interesting that what Kingpin does to him in this episode, it really hurts him, just in the sense of it hurts him that the Kingpin has manipulated and infiltrated the legal system as much as he has. I mean, he's always been greasing the wheels as we've seen in seasons 1 and 3, but this is like full on, oh man, it's like all the judges are are being bought. He's enforcing laws. Kingpin has all the power here. Just seeing the frustration at the trial as he's listening, and he's just so infuriated, but he has to know what's going on, and it's complete. It's personal when Fisk has just completely perverted the justice system and the rules and everything that Matt Murdock's relationship to law in a way is a relationship to his father. It's everything his father wanted for him. It's how he honors his father. And when Kingpin kind of defiles that, again, it's just hatred between these two. I love the petty feud and hatred between Matt and Fisk so much. I love when we get into that kind of stuff in the show, and these little sides of each other. Like this episode we had that, and then the previous episode we had Kingpin reluctantly calling Matt Murdock a hero, and we have to save Matt Murdock kind of plea to the city of New York. Just
No, that was a great way to demonstrate how formidable Kingpin is intellectually. He's so shrewd and intelligent. So
yeah, which again, it's just great to see what Matt Murdock's up against besides a physical force with the Kingpin. It's the battle of wits between these guys.
Yeah.
So I also love at the end of the episode, he's very upset when he learns just the scope of, with the action scene by the end of which we'll get into a little bit later, but he gets very upset when he learns the scope of what Kingpin's been doing to New York in kind of capturing and kind of imprisoning everyone very unlawfully and just keeping them there. And he'd already been suspecting it, but seeing just how massive and just how many people were being captured. And then at the end, just him shuddering almost at just the shock of oh my God, he blew up his own crew, his own men, and just that to me just takes it back to the end of episode, I think it was kind of episode 5 and 6 from season 1, when he blew, basically it's in episode 6, the radio conversation he has with the Kingpin over the whole Kingpin gives him a chance to kill the Russian, walk away kind of a moment, and he refuses to. And that again, I'm a broken record here. My favorite thing in the whole series is how we delay we keep Daredevil and Kingpin's interactions minimal. We build them up when they actually have the physical encounters. In season 1, obviously we build up for these two guys to actually be in a room together, which is 2 scenes, and then of course Matt and Fisk have a scene. Season 3, they don't meet each other until the very end of the season, which is one of my favorites. So I don't know, it's kind of moments like this where it's the cause and effect of Daredevil acts and does something heroic, and Kingpin has to course correct, which means he's killing innocent people, and Daredevil has to hear it from a distance, and he's just shocked by, oh my God, he's kind of blaming himself a little bit for all these innocent guys getting killed, just ferrymen doing their job.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think it speaks to how committed Daredevil is to his moral philosophy. That think about it, not only all the reprehensible things Kingpin has done and continues to do, the fact that he's manipulated the legal system to grant himself enormous power, and continue to pursue his corrupt criminal aims. It's the fact that, like, he's doing what he always does, which is trying to expose Kingpin and bring him down. But it's like you would think Matt more than anyone would be so disillusioned at this point, because how many times has he exposed him, beat him to a pulp, put him in prison, and it's like he keeps coming back and stronger, and now he's more powerful than he's ever been. And now he's not merely a vigilante, but he's a fugitive now, and the law is represented by Kingpin, who's the most powerful person in the city. So who's now the most powerful person in the city. So it's I think it makes Matt so much more endearing.
Yeah. So transitioning to Kingpin a little bit more here. So Matt and Karen have armed the governor with this potential silver bullet to actually stop what's going on in Red Hook, which basically is a little loophole, a little proviso that basically the governor is the only one with power that could, that could shut down the port, which of course would help everything. I also love that the port is like this big stationary location. A lot of people, I think, I don't know if I can say a lot of people, but I think people are speculating, we're going in a Shadowland direction with Red Hook, which I suspect season 3 will be about, but that's a guess. Regardless, Red Hook symbolizes a lot of things. It's kind of lawlessness. It's kind of like almost like a third world kind of country. It's basically a symbol for Kingpin's power. It's criminality. It's like there's basically a way where Kingpin can get away with everything in the specific part of the city. It's like him building his own territory, his own kingdom in the city. But also, again, it's the representation of like Foggy tried to stop him. And the silver bullet they have is something that Foggy found, like Foggy was working on. So the fact that, again, the Red Hook is kind of representation of like it's what got Foggy killed, but it's also how they might save the day. So it's kind of it's tied to a lot of things, and the fact they're So this is the first stumbling block that I maybe not the first stumbling block, because the Northern Star going down is a big annoyance to the Kingpin. That is like it brought Mr. Charles to the city to kind of rein him in, which is making Kingpin feel kind of small and kind of like big fish in a small pond within the. When he was very comfortable with his position of being mayor of New York, things were actually coming up Millhouse for him, and then he's kind of reminded of like, okay, well, with your new venture, your new unlimited power, you got to be scaled back when this guy shows up, because he's offering you the world, but you got to play ball here. And if your port isn't delivering, you're not earning your keep. So the point being, Kingpin is like he's kind of Daredevil acts, and Kingpin is put on his heels, not completely taken down, but he's on his heels, and he's not thrilled about that. Where he's dealing with the governor, and who is trying to exercise her control over him. And I love that he uses like the governor's dinner to intimidate her in a sense. They kind of intimidate her, and trying to get her liquored up. Not him specifically, but Daniel Blake,
the lieutenant governor, right?
Yeah. The gaffer.
Yeah, Blake is trying to get the lieutenant governor liquored up so he can extract information from him, any sort of dirt on McCaffrey, because as far as he knows, based on the information he's gathered. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm saying she's squeaky clean because of
that. Yeah, she's squeaky clean. Yeah.
So the point of Kingpin's working all the angles to try and say the governor right now is a potential silver bullet and a complication, because she does hold the keys to shutting him down. If I'm a betting man, I'm going to say things are not going to end well for the governor.
Well, I mean, I think given the involvement of the CIA agent, Mr. Charles, given that he's, essentially, in the, what do you call it, in cahoots with Kingpin on behalf of some shadowy, unnamed, powerful figure, perhaps in the White House, perhaps.
Well, we know who the figure is.
Oh yeah, it's Valentina, right?
Yeah, it's the Contessa. Yeah.
So given that he does have the White House or the CIA at the very least on his side, he potentially could murder the governor and get away with it. I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking
if she is squeaky clean, they can't get any dirt on her. That would be how they do it.
Well, I mean, you would think since later on in the episode, or you would think later on, since I mean, you would think that they could do what they did with Duquesne, which is fabricated, fabricate information, fabricate, a criminal past, or, an unsavory past, moral transgressions that could damage her reputation.
Yeah.
But who knows? I suppose her being the governor of New York, she's too powerful for that to work,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Anyway, so the takeaway here is that Kingpin's powers continues to grow, and he's bought the judges and the courts thanks to thanks to the Safer Streets Act that he was able to get passed, and ultimately it's his way of getting revenge on both Matt Murdock and Daredevil in a sense, with that law, and of course just perverting the legal system. It's just all like just a little screw use to Daredevil, and I love it.
No, yeah, it's not just it's not the warfare at play here is not just physical, but it's psychological as well.
Yeah, I mean he's laughing it up this episode where things are actually going in his favor, and it's like that when he has that epic laugh in the episode. It's like not just laughing at like, hey, Duquesne kind of spoke up to me at a party and I got revenge. It's not just that; it's just the whole thing of like, oh man, Daredevil's going to hate this, and he's laughing it up.
He's taking some pleasure in it, yeah.
Yeah. So that's things. So Fisk right now. So again, ultimately, he's grappling with Mr. Charles. Who's now? Here's the thing. So by the end of the episode, and we don't draw a fine point on it. I think it's more of we're continuing to build it up for when it's really going to have to impact it. We set something up where Mr. Charles, told him like very very cold bloodedly, you'll have to kill your lackeys essentially. And have loyal. Make sure you get loyal guys, and then kill them after they load the ship up. So Kingman did have a plan here, and he was basically following Mr. Charles's instructions and his orders there. But I loved how you saw him kind of like grappling with it for a moment, because there's one thing fundamentally we know about the Kingpin. I think we're going to explore this in our certain flashback episode or flashback elements when we get it. Loyalty is everything to the Kingpin. He does genuinely value loyalty. And that made him uncomfortable. He's in a position where Mr. Charles, he desperately wants to kill Mr. Charles, but he knows he can't do it because he needs the CIA power so he can act with impunity in New York without any, having control over the courts the way he does and everything, and being able to pass whatever laws he wants without oversight, and dealing with his governor problem.
Yeah, again, and we speak to that theme of moral compromise to where it even applies to the Kingpin,
Yeah, he can't, he's got a compromise, and he feels uncomfortable about it.
Yeah, he's not totally way, He's not a complete psychopath, He does have a code, He does have virtues, as if, even though they're few and far between.
And I like that even when we do see, you get a sense, I want to say he would have fought against blowing up the cargo ship had Daredevil not, impeded on the operation. I want to say he would have found a way to justify not killing those guys. We don't know though. I mean, it might have been he was going to do it regardless. He obviously had it prepared, and he was like, Mr. Charles told him to do that. But that again, he doesn't necessarily have to do everything. He can probably fight back against Mr. Charles a little bit on these matters. Like, well, the job got done. It's there's no need to kill them. They don't know. They're loyal. They're not going to go back on us or anything. But then again, I don't know. He might have ended up having to do it anyway. But I'm saying in the moment, though, I get a sense that the way it's played, it's more of an annoyance. But still, my headcanon is that it's not just an annoyance, but it's also like, I didn't want to have to do this, but I have to. He's not going to lose sleep over it, but it's like, well, I didn't want to do this, but I'll do it anyway.
Yeah, he's not as reluctant as your average person would be, someone with more of a conscience. But he does, he does have a meager shred of a conscience still, so he is still affected by it.
Yeah, and again, he's putting the heat on Daredevil and company, and it's like Fisk is ultimately, as we establish here, he's willing to do the kamikaze moves to serve, his goals, and that's ultimately where we walk away with. Now, whether not he'll have his. I'm convinced right now, based on what they're doing, and again, we don't have a lot of evidence quite yet. But again, I think we're building the case. I think when we're gonna have, I don't know if the whole episode's gonna be in flashback. We're just gonna get little flashbacks. If we get little flashbacks, I think this would support it even more. At some point, we're getting Wesley this season. We're going to flashback to Wesley, and I think those two might go hand in hand. That's what at the moment in episode 1 where they said. They had the scene talking about getting loyal men and just seeing that he's uncomfortable with that, and seeing kind of the bond he's got going with Daniel Blake. I'm thinking we're going to be putting him in by the end of the season. I think Miss Charles is going to be putting pressure on him to kill like his his guys like Daniel Blake, who we know for a fact are screwing up, and I think it'll get him to kind of a moral conflict, and he'll be thinking back to Wesley. That is my presumption.
Well, yeah, no. We know through marketing material. I think it was
Mhm.
photos that he will reappear,
No,
and
yeah,
we
we
still
know that. Yeah,
yeah, and we know that Fadi's coming back. I think we know based on the hallucinations that Dr. Glenn is having of Muse
yeah,
that these various characters are going to be haunted by the ghosts of their past, people they had a deep connection to, whether it was traumatic or positive and emotional,
yeah.
personal. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, so with Karen, I think you kind of summed it up pretty well. Her, and we've been building this for a while. Honestly, we've been building it ever since season 2 of the original Daredevil. Karen, her relationship, her connection to the Punisher has really brought forth this kind of like she's been very traumatized in her past, and her way of working through it is like she's kind of she's been put through the ringer. She's seen the darkness in the world. I mean, just going back to Daredevil season 1. I mean, she was framed for murder and again by Fisk, and she just has a lot of justifiable reasons to want Fisk dead and to kind of want to kind of go for the more permanent solution, especially after everything that Fisk has put him through, let alone Vanessa killing Foggy. She's lost a lot. Her friends and everything, and Punisher has kind of opened her eyes to maybe there is there is another way of going about it. But I think Karen's always been trying to be more calculated about it. She was in a position to kill or be killed situation. She killed Wesley, but it's not necessarily like she's a bloodthirsty maniac. She killed to survive, and she didn't feel bad about it. And that's kind of the divide between her and Matt. Not because he's not mad at her for killing Wesley or anything, but it's just it's just fundamental. It's like she's willing to go that far. Where the whole thing is like he's too Catholic to forgive himself for a murder. But I love that the Punisher has been really convincing in that season 2. It's an understated moment no one ever talks about. Way back in season 2, the original season 2. It's like episode 11, I think. It's 10 or 11. I think it's 11 because 10 was the it could have been the end of 10. The point being, no, it's 11, I'm sure. It's when Punisher's looking for the blacksmith on the boat and it's a trap. Daredevil meets him there, and they have that scene where Daredevil says, Frank, maybe you're right. Maybe basically he's brought to the point of like maybe it's a one and done kind of thing. Maybe you're right. Maybe we kill the blacksmith and we move on. Basically equating it to Fisk, equating it to maybe I'll help you find the blacksmith because of all he's killed your family and everything, etc. And just the way John Bernthal played that scene, just the whole like wait, not just one and you can go back, Red. It doesn't work like that. But like he sees the humanity and he's really touched by Daredevil kind of bending to that, but he feels like a sympathy where no, Red, you don't understand. It doesn't work like that. He's genuinely touched by it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
he's yeah. You can sense the respect and admiration, despite the fact that they fundamentally disagree.
yeah, so I was like that in that sense. Like Punisher makes a very convincing argument, in his he does he does get results. By the same token, though, it's the fact that again, like Frank, there's obviously even when we introduced the Punisher. I don't mean this turn is all about the Punisher, but it's in relation to Karen. Like Punisher's thing is that in the MCU, he had he has like the bullet in the reason he has the skull is symbolic of there's a bullet in his head that is basically flaring up the fight or flight response. And I always loved in Bernthal's performance, especially in season 2. I mean, I think it's always there, but it was at its most in season 2. He always had like the way his eyes move in the role where it's always like you can kind of see that fight or flight thing. Like he's always like geared up in his head. He's always very defensive, where he's analyzing everything. You could read it as like it's a military thing, or you can read it as like again there's a bit of a closed head injury kind of element to the guy there. A little vulnerability amidst like just the you do not want to be in a hallway with this man.
No, and it's like it's not just John Bernthal could have easily played the character as just a generic tough guy,
Yeah.
especially with and his face is just so hard edged and masculine and formidable looking.
My favorite thing about Bernthal being the Punisher is that if you look at him, he looks like John Romita drew him.
Oh yeah, he's got those really like defined hardline features, you know. He's
Yeah,
got a really strong, physically imposing face. And he could have coasted on that and you know with through his performance, but no, there's just so much genuine like emotional intensity whenever he's on screen and whenever he plays the character. And even when he's casual, you could tell like he's, you know, underneath there's just so much palpable rage, you know, that's trying to break through.
yep. Jacob in the comments says I'm interested in how he'll be in Spider-Man. Yeah, I think what we've seen in the trailer with him in Spider-Man, he's been pitch perfect. It's everything I ever wanted. And already just one scene between a Punisher Spider-Man interaction, so I'm very stoked for it. But anyway, so to Karen again. So Karen, like Billy was saying, Karen, she's very it's very frustrating. She's losing faith in the crumbling system, and again, she's just everything's been taken from her here, and we see her again using her investigative reporting skills to to find. Sorry, she's using her investigative reporting skills to to find to find like the loophole in the Red Hook and the Red Hook port thing.
Yeah,
She's
she's
trying
trying
to
to out loophole the Kingpin, which is really cool.
yeah. So I love that. I love that she's using her investigative reporter skills as well as some skills, some tricks she learned from the Punisher, as well as like some fighting skills she just learned from Daredevil. She she took out the guard and she's kind of finding out. She had like the whole interrogation scene, which is great, by the way. Love that interrogation scene. I love this, Daredevil, like he's in rare form with like the human lie detector thing, but he's still playing like into the fear and the intimidation, like it's like you're lying, as he says. He's telling the truth. He's definitely telling the truth
Yeah.
because he would know, which is hilarious. He's hitting the guy because he enjoys hitting the guy. Because he hates anyone that's joined this task force willingly. They're all dirty cops. Mind it's a dirty cop who's had a change of heart because he's seen, oh man, I didn't sign up for this. This is bad. This is like, you know, again, this is martial law to like the nth degree. This is terrible. Anyway, the point being, Karen's proactive, and she's definitely in the thick of the action. Like I don't think in season two, like going way back, I doubt Karen would ever be like in the thick of the action the way she is, like during the Red Hook infiltration. So she's becoming very invaluable using her not just her reporting skills that we've seen before, but she's in the thick of it. Like they're both wanted kind of felons in Kingpin's born again New York. So they gotta be together. They gotta be in the field. She has to. She's got to employ some of those some Frank Castle learned skills.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So Kirsten. So Kirsten, she's got an uphill battle with the system. She a lot of the episode. Kirsten really got shafted in season one. Ultimately, she was kind of she's really again. We've now Billy. I know you looking at recaps and stuff in the first season, but I'm sure people have told you this too. But like long and short of it is, season one was kind of a hodgepodge. It was kind of like two visions of the show. You had like we had basically it started as the version that did not have access to the Netflix shows, and then later on we had like the new showrunner who's doing all of season two here, who is basically like, oh man, of course we have access to Netflix shows. We want it to feel like the Netflix shows. We want it to feel like a continuation. We're allowed to reference things, but the problem is, by the time that guy was allowed to make that show, they had episodes shot and they couldn't reshoot it from the very beginning. Well, they couldn't just do the whole thing over again. They had to incorporate what they had. So some things kind of got so it's a mixture of the two things, and some ideas they have to carry over, but they've improved now that they have this new showrunner working on from the start. So he's kind of massaged out some ideas like the BB report and stuff. Like these are things like I don't know for a fact. I want to say BB Urich was like an idea. Well, we can't acknowledge Ben Urich at all from the original show, so we'll have a new Ben Urich. It'll be a teenage girl, and then basically, okay, let's make her the niece. Let's make her smart. Let's have her like do what she's doing in season two with the anti-Fisk videos, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, pretty easy fits. I mean, it's not the cleverest thing, but it's not all that contrived either. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot. I think it's working better here than it did in the first season. The first season, it felt very. I could see what they were going for, but didn't. They were going for like the Frank Miller talking heads, like you see in Dark Knight Returns, or even like the opening of RoboCop, like kind of the satirical, kind of like people commenting on what's going on in the world. And season one, it kind of fell flat. It just felt like we're kind of we're gluing together scenes with this. Season two, though, it feels like we reveal that it was her doing these things, and again, it's kind of her way of getting the truth out there of what Fisk is up to, in kind of an entertaining way, and again, a way that irritates Fisk because it's via mask and via mockery of him, which
it's a caricature of him,
Which I find him entertaining. It kind of reminds me of Mr. Robot, and I kind of I like him. But beyond that, though, I don't know. It feels like we're just adding more personality to like you're kind of taking the temperature on the city, and it's kind of like it has that Frank Miller vibe to me. I don't know. The point being, I'm getting off track talking about BB. She's not really in this episode, but well, she's in the episode, but she isn't really going to talk about her development because she just
she's at the trial, right?
Yeah, she's at the trial. That's about it. So she's there, and maybe I think she's at the table with Daniel Blake. Maybe later on when they're having that, she might have been present, but I can't remember. I don't think she was, but there's a chance he could have slotted her in there. So maybe she was there, but she didn't have any lines. Anyway, but she was at the trial though. So point being, Kristen. So this season, the way I take it with her, and though I think this episode kind of confirms for me, is that she is, she's picking up the slack for Matt not being, like our lawyer this season. And the way we're going to develop her and show that, she's actually a really good attorney and she's kind of worthy of being like, kind of Matt Murdock's law partner, is that, she's honoring what he stood for here. And she's defending the vigilantes who have had all their legal rights and civil rights just kind of stripped away from them because of the Safer Streets Act and, Red Hook being kind of this place, this bait. So the idea with Red Hook as well, and the way we're kind of incorporating with the Safer Streets Act, is that from behind the scenes, they seem to have said that it's kind of like homaging kind of post 9/11 New York, where it was like, it was kind of like the era of like, the Guantanamo Bay and everything. And I know it's not like
the Patriot Act,
Patriot Act, exactly, stuff like that. So it's kind of in reference to kind of like that era of New York, and that's why we're touting out Terrorist Act a lot with the vigilantism in this season. So they're kind of going for. I really love that in the show we have references to the credo that they've used is the Stanley credo of, look at, write what's outside your window kind of a thing, where, it's kind of like, make New York make the setting feel like where it's at, which in this case in New York and what's going on in New York and everything. And in that respect, it's like we're referencing things that have happened historically, but we're not spoon feeding, we're not spelling out, we're not drawing, like we're not uncreatively pointing it out, but it's kind of there. But I like that it's not hitting you over the head with it, like for example, a lot of people have drawn a bit of like an immigration thing with the vigilante task force.
I was about to say, sorry to interrupt. I was about to say, like, I mean, that aspect of the whole, allusions to 2001 era politics and the Bush administration, that's not spoon fed to the audience. But but generally speaking, most of the political allegory is fairly transparent. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or poorly incorporated or poorly explored or developed, but it is very blatant.
Yeah, and again, it's not even a thing where they're like apologizing for, but it's not a thing where they're like, it's not a hill they're going to die on. They're basically saying like, well, I mean, look, it's it's kind of the way, again, the way the early Marvel comics would kind of like reflect the world as it is, but I like that it kind of feels, you can kind of feel it there, but it's just not spelling it out for you, and you can kind of apply it how you see fit. It's like, for example, season one. Again, I know you did kind of the recap on it, but season one. The whole thing with Fisk is, there's a bit of like, kind of a celebrity, kind of in this case, an infamous, with Fisk, being like an infamous former criminal and billionaire, kind of running for office, and he gets in there and everything, and however people feel about that. What?
And he turns the whole thing into an authoritarian, corrupt cabal, and there seems to be no accountability or oversight. So.
But again, it's like fundamentally it boils down to when we saw his campaign trail and everything. It's the idea of why would people vote for that person? That was a question we were asking in real life. Now, again, however you feel about that, by all means,
fear. He's preying on their ignorance. He's using publicity stunts to distract them.
But I like that it kind of hits us, the audience, in that, of course, I mean, like, would you vote for Wilson Fisk? Well, I mean, I'm enamored by the Kingpin. I'm enamored by, again, if you, it's just the sake of like a guy who's going to get direct answers and has the charisma and just the fascination of like the way D'Onofrio plays the Kingpin, you can kind of buy people would vote for him, and that this is a guy who doesn't act like a politician. So fundamentally, so again, it's like the political allegories and just kind of like the way in which it simulates the real world without just like saying like we're satirizing this directly or this he is this person. It's just it feels like things that have happened in real life. But again, not just again like you said, the 2001 Bush administration or whatever. We're kind of pulling from all over, and there's like a celebration of kind of history, New York's history, I think specifically.
Yeah, no, and it taps into something fundamental about human psychology is that it's like we want things to get done and we want them to get done immediately. We have almost no patience.
Yeah.
So when someone comes along and says, I'm going to cut through the red tape, the dumb, pointless bureaucracy,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to get stuff done. I don't care what rules I have to break, what stupid, debilitating rules I have to break in order to get things done. I will get things done and I will make things better for you. But of course, it's always a lie. It's always a smoke screen. It's all just about one egomaniac's pursuit of power, at the expense of everyone else. So, yeah.
So Kristen, I like that she's kind of like walking a mile in Matt's shoes here, where she's saying like, oh God, I'm going up against the impossible odds here. I'm barely able to see my client. I gotta be blindfolded. I can't even see, just have like a few minutes, like 15 minutes of access to my client before I'm like, I'm going to be throwing the trial with them. And she had to fight just to get those 15 minutes. Is like she is up, like it's completely unfair. What's happening to her, and like she's being denied basic rights for her client, and it's like everyone's just like like treating her like crap.
It's terrible. You really feel her frustration, and it's just so blatant the abject corruption. It's like she's first of all, the prosecution's case hinges entirely on a totally fabricated psychological profile of Duquesne.
Yeah.
They push the trial 2 weeks up, so she even has less time to prepare. Yeah. And they send her a notification email. They knowingly send a notification email to an email address that she doesn't operate under anymore, that she doesn't use anymore. So it's like she's getting fucked from all angles, and it's amazing that she manages to maintain the level of composure that she does.
So she's justifiably upset by how unfair the vigilante trials are going, and it leads to a rare loss for our very good lawyer here. So she's I like it. We established she's a fun drunk when she loses, and she's like at the bar, and it's just like I will tell them that Pizza Rat is like smoking crack in your basement. If you cut me off like that kind of
I don't know. I'm going to be honest here. This is going to be one of the moments where I criticize the show briefly, but like, I don't know. I that dialogue felt a little forced. It's like, oh, we're trying to be funny. We're trying to make it, and we're trying to make the character endearing and all that, and have this funny, sarcastic exchange between her and the bartender. And it's just like, I don't know. To me, it just kind of felt forced, and it wasn't funny or endearing.
I don't know, man. We got to give her something, because we've done so little with her until this point. We got to play catch up with her a little bit.
It's a moment of relief. It's a moment of levity, for the character and for the audience, given everything she's endured up until then. About the trial, though, it's like okay, I know like the previous 2 episodes telegraphed how much of a mock trial this was going to be.
Oh, yeah.
It's so obvious during when they actually showcased the trial. I don't know, but like. They I don't know, but then they have Duquesne once the verdict is rendered. They have Duquesne like waxing philosophical about the corrupt nature of the mock trial, and it's like, okay, it's totally unnecessary. It's really stupid and cheesy and pointless. He didn't have to say anything. His expression, his scoffing, communicated everything we needed to know about how, and we already know full well, because he knew going in, he was prepared. He was content in the knowledge. I don't know if I'm using the correct expression, but he was firm in the knowledge that this was going to be a complete farce, and he even says as much. But it's like we didn't need him to say anything,
Okay, well, I mean, look, in defense of that, okay, so Tony Dalton is the actor who plays Jack Duquesne. Of course, I'm just saying in general, I love Tony Dalton. We on the channel we loved him in Better Call Saul. He played Lalo in Better Call Saul, and the way in which he's played that character, way in which he's played that character between Hawkeye and this, and just in general, like the guy is kind of like a bon vivant. Kind of billionaire who was kind of doing vigilantism as like a hobby and everything. I don't know. He feels like kind of with the Errol Flynn, Doug Fairbanks kind
Like,
of.
no, exactly. He's very suave and debonair. He's very much that archetype. It's just that I loved all his dialogue during the interrogation scene when he's speaking with when Dr. Glenn is psychoanalyzing him,
Yeah.
when he's speaking with McDuffie. It's just that all that dialogue is great and his performance is great. It's just that during that one moment where he has to give his poetic treatise on the trial once the verdict is rendered, I just thought that was really stupid.
Well, he's like telling the one person who's
not only unnecessary but redundant.
Yeah, but he's like telling the one person who's going to care, though.
Well, he seems to be talking. He seems to be talking to himself when he's doing it.
I mean,
he's like whispering. He's like, "Oh, the mock trial with pushed by the man with the hand on the scale," and I'm like, "Okay."
But again, because he's a ham. That's why he's doing it. He's kind of he likes the sound of his own voice, and they've never really.
He was cool, but
that's been established.
He was cool, but in that moment, he verged. He leaned into ham, and it was just just bad.
I mean, it is. He hasn't like done it up to that point. It's like, well, I mean, there are a railroad man. It's a tragedy of the legal system. I might as well kind of do my last poor York moment.
I might as well needlessly
myself and maybe my attorney if she cares. He's trying to make her feel a little better about it. I guess.
No. That's great when he reassures her. He's like, no, I knew how this was going to turn out. That's all we fucking needed. And then it's
you're right. Look, I'm not. Look, I don't disagree with you that if we left it there, it would have worked. But it was. Yes, it's for a dramatic point. I think it's more of just it's kind of like be kind of like some pretty words delivered by Tony Dalton. But I don't know. I think it fit. I think it befit his character that he would do something like that. Is it unnecessary? Probably. But I don't know. I thought it played kind of nice and dramatic for like because again, it's a very shocking kangaroo court that we have. Like she was given no leeway at all. I mean, very obviously.
Oh no! Again, yeah, and it's like that's that whole spiel is the only issue I had with that entire scene. It's just it just became unnecessary and cheesy. But and look, I don't know. As much as I'm dogging on that moment, it's not like it's some major flaw. It's just it's just a moment that I thought was really stupid and kind of frustrated me.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, I guess another thing we should start real quick. We should hit with her is that she's Matt has been Matt's been a little selfish here, kind of like not telling her that like Matt Murdock is alive, but he's been keeping her at a distance to protect her, which again is not really giving her any solace, but it's ultimately he's doing this I feel because he doesn't want her to end up like Foggy. And ultimately, she is kind of, I mean, for better or for worse, some people, obviously, there's no replacing the wonderful, Foggy Nelson. But in essence, she's a law partner. She was kind of Foggy's fill-in. So, I mean, he definitely cares about her and doesn't want her to end up like getting killed in the line of things like Foggy did. So that's why he keeps a literal distance from her, too. That's why he's kind of changed, he's kind of like, masking his voice a little bit. He's standing like at the end of the corridor there. So ultimately, yeah, she's aligning herself with the vigilantes a little bit here because she's seen up close and personal. Like, these guys do not have a chance. I'm gonna help Daredevil out. Gives him everything he needs to infiltrate Red Hook. So she's helped the cause.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? This is something I didn't notice until my second viewing of the episode. Is that when she's being escorted into the detainment facility while blindfolded, during that whole scene. It really it cuts to like the surrounding area, and it really emphasizes the sounds.
Oh yeah,
that her surroundings are making, and that she's making as she's being escorted to the interrogation room. Yeah. And I love how they called back to that when Daredevil locates the facility. I thought that was a really nice, cool, stylistic touch, as well as callback to the previous setup that established that.
I always kind of jokingly call it Murdoch vision, but I always love how we do the Murdoch vision. This season, with our showrunners fully in control, they've been doing a really good job with it, like with the camera angles and the way in which we really emphasize the sounds, like you pointed out. So I mean, like it's pretty good.
Yeah, funnily enough, even though this version of Daredevil is set in a more fantastical universe, it's
Yeah,
like the way they approach his radar sense is a lot more realistic than it was depicted in the March Steven Johnson film.
yeah.
Which I don't know
No,
if
for
I'm
sure.
okay with
Yeah.
that or if I don't know. I think I like it. I like it. I just you would think they would go even more crazy with the radar sense in Daredevil, but nope. They made it more grounded and more
Well, remember they were
realistic.
in that era. Everyone was afraid of like going big in comic book with things. So they
Yeah.
always had the scale back. That's why we couldn't give him a really red suit. It was red, but it was always night and it was always really dark and it was kind of like it was like a brownish red kind of it was red or like basically if there was a red that could absorb the darkness, they found that material for the
No, yeah, and here's the
03
thing.
Daredevil.
Exactly. And like here's the thing, it's like look, Daredevil is the one hero in the show aside from White Tiger in the previous season who actually has a good costume, and yet it's weird. I don't know what the mentality is behind the scenes, but they always feel the need to like change the look of the suit. Like I know he had multiple versions of the suit in the comics, and they're harkening back to that. But it's like I don't know. It's weird. It's like the season one of the Netflix Daredevil show ended with him obtaining the official all red Daredevil suit, right? And then he had that for the majority of season two. And then in season three, he had to resort to using his original suit because of the mock Daredevil. And then in season one, I'm assuming he went back or to the suit of season two and end of season one, right?
Okay, well let me give you a breakdown of like how the MCU Daredevil suits have gone. Okay, real quick. Okay, so yeah, season one he's in the black, which is a throwback to Man Without Fear, the John Romita Jr. Frank Miller run. Like the early basically the flashback in that origin story, which is why we put him in the all blacks, like not, and we write it into the show that again, man, you really need a better costume, you need something armored, you're getting injured all the time. End of it, Melvin Potter makes him the suit, which again was it's kind of an armored red and black thing. The red protects against knives, black is the bulletproof part. A lot of people complained that there's like too much black on the suit, so then at the top of season two, he gets shot in the head, so he gets a new headpiece, which is all red, so it looks more like the Daredevil suit. And that's why it kind of gives it like the usual look that we're used to as in Defender. So basically, you're right though. The new suit that we get in season two carries over between season two, Defenders, and essentially the very top of season three, and ultimately it's kind of what Bullseye's fake Daredevil suit is, just remade. So pretty much, so that suit carried over. Like I think there were some slight modifications, but the idea that Melvin in the 6 months or so, I think it's 6 months. The 6 months between, I know 6 months is this season, but I'm talking wait the original season two. Also, there was a 6 month gap between season one, season two. He is the point. Melvin's probably made it some slight adjustments, and then he gives him a new headpiece. And then, he's going back to the original suit. But if you notice, I love this. I've always loved this detail. I always geek out about the color theory in Daredevil, how like the three prominent colors in the Netflix show was, it was like we had many thematic things about the red, black, and white, and how they all kind of. And you'll notice he went back to the original season one like kind of black costume, but he had a little red undershirt, so he had like red kind of showing through around the neck, and he had like the white Muay Thai ropes. So it was like we had all three colors represented. Then we had the awesome three-way fight of him fighting Kingpin in all white and Bullseye in the red Daredevil costume. Was a anyway. Sorry, I'm going somewhere with this. I promise. I'm not just just getting the stuff.
No, it's fine.
So then She-Hulk. We get She-Hulk. She-Hulk gives us the kind of the checks
Yellow
the
and
box
red,
of
right?
like get the yellow and red, and the rationale for the yellow and red. Now, mind you, that was the Daredevil that we didn't have permission to use the Netflix stuff, but they were on the fence. Basically, it was the understanding that we could bring back at least three Netflix characters, but we couldn't bring back any of their supporting cast. So retroactively, and I think just the logic, I mean, basically my headcanon still plays, but without just getting into all that, is that ultimately he took a case outside of New York and like his big non-New York client. He would take paying clients so he can keep the firm afloat because Nelson Murdoch and Page did a lot of pro bono work, which did not pay the bills. So they had the occasion to do a high profile client. I forget if Jacobson paid him, but at the very least, Jacobson paid him in costume. So that's where he gets all the variants for the Daredevil suits from, and that's where he gets the yellow and red suit from. And that's why, and we see the yellow and red suit and all the other suits briefly in season 1 of Born Again, like in a little like locker or something that he's got around his apartment, which is now probably destroyed. Anyway, so he had all the suits. So whatever the point being, any modifications or any new suits that he has, Melvin Potter didn't make them. He has Luke Jacobson made him suits. So presumably he also made him a red one, which is what we have at the start of Born Again. Okay. And that suit, to my knowledge, as we can see, there might be some very slight modifications just stylistically, but the assumption is he's wearing the same red suit that has just been spray painted black and has the Daredevil D's on them. That's the long, boring story of the history of Daredevil's costumes. Sorry. I obsess over the Daredevil suits.
That was fascinating. No. That was great to listen to, and I'm shocked that you managed to recall all that.
Oh, of course. I obsess over those Daredevil suits, man. I've been ranting about the whole. I love that we have the D's, and I love that we're putting them in the black suit, which is from the comics. But it kills me though that I really want to get the Hot Toys Daredevil, but every time I want to, I have to stop myself because I know at some point we're gonna get the red suit with the D's on it. We're not there yet, so I know if I got that red suit,
that's all. That's all that those suits are missing is the big flaming D's.
My big little robot chicken reference.
Yeah, robot chicken. That's precisely what I was.
Flaming D's. I always found it ridiculous.
D's here, my big flaming D's.
Isn't that robot chicken joke, by the way? Because no one else is ever gonna remember that. Because I'm just going to tell you, it always cracks me up that why is he writing it down? He's blind. Why is he writing it down?
That gasoline's just going to evaporate.
Yeah. Anyway, I think Breckenmeyer was Daredevil in that.
Yes, he was.
Anyway, my point is, I always rant about like Hot Toys figures. I'm desperate to have a Daredevil figure, but I know the moment I get like either the red one or the black, I'm going to kick myself because eventually they'll come out with whatever the new suit is on season 3, which is probably going to be red with the D's on it. So at some point, because that's how the MCU works. Eventually, they crack the code.
Yeah, so the frequent suit changes are even more frustrating to you than they are to me. And here's the thing. It's like, look, I've loved every iteration of the suit. Like I said, I think Daredevil is the only character, or one of the 2 only characters in the show that has a good costume, and I've liked every iteration of it. And I recognize that there's narrative justifications for each costume change. It's just that I wish we could stick with like. First of all, I wish we could finally get the definitive Daredevil costume.
But I have faith we'll get there, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. But still, it's like. And also, like, I wish we could stick with a suit for long enough before we just up and change it again, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm with you. I love illogical logic. I love when we can justify, like, you know, like it's a thing that would make sense in the world of like the big and the fantastic of like, okay, well, in this world where anything with these things could happen, this logically would happen. Where okay, if Daredevil's going to like get the suit with these purposes, you know, would have to be for a good reason. And I'd like that you can kind of track the logic there. Now, mind you, from She-Hulk to the in between there's some kind of some headcanon you have to work in there. That's only because again that whole retooling thing between the whole like we couldn't continue Netflix to we can acknowledge Netflix. But, in defense of the She-Hulk one was like, okay, it was a bucket list thing of like, they had no idea if Daredevil was ever going to get a show. We knew he was going to be in Spider-Man. They were working on a Daredevil show, but it was never a certainty. At the very least, to the public, it was never a certainty. Here's the real one for you, okay? Real quick. Echo. That's the real one, because we kind of obscure the suit, but if you really pay attention, that suit is the season 2 Daredevil suit. That is the original Netflix Daredevil. That is that flashback takes place, it takes place between I had it nailed down. We talked about Echo.
Is it seasons 2 and 3 or 1 and 2?
Well, I'm saying that suit is like, it has the red face, so it's not going back to season 1. So that would be, I'm sorry, in Echo, the Daredevil cameo scene takes place between 3 and I'm pretty sure it takes place between seasons 3 and it's in the 7-year gap. So the idea is eventually he got the red suit back as well. Now I know that.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
I know it's kind of a. I imagined because if you really look at that Luke Jacobson suit, it is the original Daredevil suit, but just with a different color scheme on it, with very very slight modifications, but essentially it's the same suit.
Okay.
And to the point being, I imagine he at some point he had that red suit made, and Luke Jacobson made him the alternate. So that's my guess. Again, if you want to make it all clean and everything, I guess he had the yellow the yellow and red probably was like a recent thing, be my guess. Like the red suit got damaged, he got like the yellow and red before he got like a brand new red suit made or whatever.
Okay.
Again, I'm sorry for all that.
No. If anything, that's probably my fault. But no, it was great to listen to that. It was great to hear you.
Okay, so real quick, just to let me round things out, the swordsman, and we'll kind of move on to the next thing. So I with the swordsman's progression, to me, again, I'm reading into this a lot, mind you, but I like to think just tracking his progression from Hawkeye to here, which again, I think we're getting some good material with him here. Nothing against Hawkeye. I'm just thinking, I think we're actually given time to actually do stuff with the swordsman versus the swordsman being kind of like a little plot point that ultimately didn't really, didn't do a lot, but he was there. I think we've seen him humbled, like between seasons 1 and 2 of this. Like, he was humbled, and I think he's kind of seeing what, because again, he was a vigilante out of leisure and looking for a hobby. That was kind of the gag of Hawkeye, whereas I get used to this kind of a thing. And we saw like the little video, which we see here again. Him like kind of crusading and kind of saving people, but more as just kind of like a jovial thing you can do and get away with. Again, kind of like Green Arrow at the very beginning, like old school Green Arrow, not the CW Green Arrow. Like I'm talking old days, like like the James Arnold Taylor one from Brave and the Bold kind of era Green Arrow, like the original, like shaven, no goatee Arrow. That's kind of what he was. And just the idea that I think seeing true injustice by what's going on, all these vigilantes being captured unlawfully, Red Hook everything himself, and it's kind of like I think he's really been grounded and he's been brought down to see, like, this is why you need to be a vigilant. This is the kind of stuff you get to fight in this episode. He really gets to kind of learn at the feet of the master through Daredevil here, I'd like to think. So, he's, we learned through, like, the Fisk videos, the Gorilla Fisk. They call him, like, Gorilla. Behind the scenes, they call him, like, Gorilla Fisk, or technically it's, like, the hashtag is, City Without Fear, which is cool. We kind of see, that we learned that he's been donating his money to women's shelters and children's hospitals. So again, he's not sort of Jack Duquesne's never been a bad guy. He's actually been a good hearted.
Yeah. I get the sense that he's even if his primary motivations for being a vigilante aren't entirely noble and mostly self-serving, I never got the sense that he was morally dubious. Like I always got the sense he would have been averse to this kind of stuff, to corruption, to genuine wrongdoing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny that you single his character out as him having an arc this season, because I didn't really get that sense at all. I thought, like, he's not a major character. He's basically a guest star, and he doesn't really have much of an arc. He's a fully formed character, and that's really it.
Yeah, again, we saw him a little bit in season 1. That's why he was imprisoned, because at the end of season 1.
So. Oh yeah, he was in prison along with the Punisher, who escaped in the post-credit scene. Yeah.
So that's the thing. So I guess what I'm saying is, in general, is that he was like still like kind of dealing with Fisk, not like he wasn't going for what Fisk was offering. That's why he has like kind of the stuff of the trial that helps Daredevil. It's just it's just ultimately he's I get the sense that he was still like. He's still seeing himself as a billionaire with a hobby, and I think now he's kind of does something really, not that he hadn't done heroic things, but I think he's doing heroic things for the right reasons, and he really relishes the team up with Daredevil and doing some actual good versus like stuff that's kind of perceived as good beyond like just usual charitable donations and stuff. So I think he's. I see the potential for progress. I don't know how much more we're going to get at the Swordsman if we have like a crowd or anything. We're building a team, and unfortunately, the Defenders aren't coming till next year. At least all of the Defenders aren't coming till next year. So, in the interim, we got to give them a team that does not include Spider-Man. I think Swordsman's probably the best we're going to get right now, along with someone we all love who hopefully will be showing up in the next episode. No idea. Hopefully, will. I don't know. Okay. So let's go to everyone's favorite segment, blinding moment of awesome.
Blonde Matt Murdock.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna pass it to you, Superbilly. I want you to tell the folks what a moment from the episode that was it was really one of your favorite moments, something you really liked.
It's probably too late at this point, but I was about to ask: Did we not want to discuss Dr. Glenn or?
Well, you know what? I was gonna. Here's the thing for the thing you're about to mention. I was gonna save that character's development for then, but let's real quick. Let's talk about Doctor.
Or maybe we could discuss her arc, or
Let's do. Let's save her for Braille Trail. We'll save her.
Yeah. Let's save her for Braille Trail at Easter.
They have a big kind of building thing with her there, so that's another reason.
Yeah, that's what about. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, so hit him with your moment. Tell him what it is. Describe it for him.
All right. So my favorite moment of the episode was the Daniel Blake scene.
You seem to really like Daniel Blake. Is that right?
Oh my God. He is the character that I am the most emotionally invested in. He's the character that I find the most compelling. And Michael Gandolfini, I feel, delivers the strongest performance in the entire show of all the actors. And that's saying something when you're up against the lights of Vincent D'Onofrio, Lily Taylor, Charlie Cox as Daredevil. This is a great cast. There's a lot of the Wire alumni in the show playing various supporting characters. He's fantastic, and he probably has some of the best dialogue, or at least the most natural dialogue out of every character on the show. He's the one who most feels like a real person. And I don't mean to besmirch the other actors and their performances. I'm simply saying that, like, in his performance in conjunction with the dialogue, he feels the most real out of anybody on the show. He feels like the most grounded character and the most relatable. And I love this moment because it's a great performance showcase for Michael Gandolfini. The dialogue's great. Where he basically uses the hot dog to illustrate how good he is, how shrewd of a politician he is, how good he is at gathering intelligence and information and reading people and persuading people. It's a really great exchange, and it's really cool. And during that entire sequence, he's brimming with charisma. You sort of, it's like the Cashman and BB, they sort of fall under his spell a little bit. And Cashman acknowledges that later on in the episode during the dinner when he sat beside Dr. Glenn. It's a really fantastic moment. And I love how, like, he's very natural. He's a naturally, you can tell he's a naturally charismatic person. But then when Cashman sort of basically, threatens him or insists that he figure out who runs the Life Without Fear website, and you can tell he knows who it is, or at least he strongly suspects who it is. But of course, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to give the identity of that person because he has something of a friendship. He has some degree of affection for that person, and he knows who Kingpin is. He knows how corrupt and how ruthless he can be, and what could potentially happen to her if she were discovered as the person who is running the website and gathering all this information to expose Kingpin's criminal activity and corrupt activity. And like, I love how, like, you can tell, like as ambitious and as morally compromised as he is, he's very conflicted. And I love, like, how at first he's like, he comes, bursting through the gate with all this confidence and all this suaveness. And then he immediately starts to break down once Cashman essentially, gives him a thinly veiled threat, issues him a thinly veiled threat. And you can see he starts to become, the way he responds to questions, the way he comports himself. He becomes a lot more, rigid. His responses sound a lot more rehearsed and labored. You can feel the fear, in his eye, in his voice, and and just the way he carries himself. It's not he's not as strident as he was. It's a really fantastic moment. It's a really fantastic scene. And I think this sort of, this along with, his scenes with BB, his interactions with BB in previous episodes, I think they're building towards, I don't want to say a redemption arc, because he's sort of like, he's sort of like in the middle, you know. He's sort of in the middle of a tug of war between good and evil in his own mind and heart, and amongst the entire cast. You know, there's characters pulling him in both directions. So I think over the course of this season, he's gonna wrestle with that, and we'll see how things turn out for him, and hopefully he doesn't wind up dead. So, no, it's a great scene. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I love just like the glee which he says, "I got you to eat street meats." You know, it's
Yeah. I got you to eat street meat. Do you know what's in there?
yeah. So I mean, but yeah, I like I really do like the bond that's kind of forming between Buck Cashman and Daniel Blake. It's just again, Cashman's kind of in the background. We know this guy's got he's got bodies buried somewhere, and like Fisk trusts him, and that's saying something. Again, obviously, what's interesting to me is that, and again, I'm convinced we're building it intentionally to a point here. Is that, I mean, Cashman and Blake, they're kind of Wesley surrogates to some degree. I mean, even like I mentioned this before too last time. I'm trying to not go on a long tangent about it, but let's just say the thing Wesley in the Daredevil show in the original series. I always read Wesley as kind of a little brother figure to the Kingpin, but by season 3, they kind of confirmed that Kingpin, he kind of saw him more like a kind of a surrogate son of sorts. Which I mean,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I mean, look, either works. I'm just saying, to me, like this is like way back in season 1, I always felt like kind of the brother, but anyway. The point being is so Buck is kind of says at the dinner scene like the heir apparent, so he's kind of sees that Fisk has Fisk definitely likes this kid, and I'm not saying we're gonna maybe do him in lieu of Richard Fisk, but it is kind of like
that's the thing. His character is like a proto Richard Fisk. It's like had Vanessa and Wilson been married before the events of Netflix, season 1, he could have easily have been Richard Fisk.
Yeah, no, for sure, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so it's so I don't know. I like the bond that they're both kind of in the Wesley vein, kind of like more of like kind of Wesley as we remember is kind of how Cashman acts now, but in terms of the loyalty and just kind of like the kind of the familial aspect. There's a little bit of Daniel Blake in there. So I mean, it's like the blinding loyalty to kind of like the most dangerous agent in terms of like skill. So like together, I think it's kind of the idea that you can't replace Wesley. You can only get to the closest thing. And I like that throughout the series. If you really pay attention, it's like we've had like surrogate Wesleys since season 1. If you think about it, in prison, he kind of had, had like one guy in prison who was kind of like the interim Wesley. And then by season 3, we had, I remember in the comics, Mr. Fit, it was like Fix It, Felix Manning. Sorry, Felix Manning. Yes, we had the Felix Manning character in season 3. And it's just, I don't know. So Cashman's kind of like the latest in the line of like kind of like the. But he also had like Dex. Dex tried to be that, and Dex overextended himself in trying to like ultimately, like Bullseye. We're not really going to talk about this episode, but Bullseye ultimately is kind of like Kingpin's vision of what he wanted the Punisher to be, like kind of a gun that he could point at people, and Dex saw himself as like, no, I could be the new James Wesley, which, of course, the moment he said that, Kingpin knew, oh, okay, I let this guy get too close. He's telling Vanessa he's the new Wesley. That is not what's happening here. So it's, I don't know, I'm just saying it's interesting, kind of like the whole, like, kind of the direction we're going there, and the fact that this whole thing, Kingpin's loyalty to his men is going to be put to the test. These two guys, they might have some targets on their backs, especially Daniel Blake.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, so my blinding moment. Keeping it simple, it was our big tradition in Daredevil. We got to do the one-art action scene. Usually it is the hallway scenes. We like to shorthand it. And this, it's kind of like it's got corridors. It's kind of hallway, yes. But our big one-take wonder breakout scene. Basically shooting the breakout as a one-er. It was beyond awesome. It was beyond amazing. I think we can all agree. It was fantastic. It was
fantastic. It was easily the best action sequence of the entire show. And before you go on, I just wanted to mention, not only was it the best action sequence of the entire series so far, of the entire season so far, rather, but also like frankly, I've been having some issues with it was the only action sequence that actually impressed me, that I actually thought was good, because so far, while the choreography is great. And I love and appreciate how brutally violent the action is in this show. I felt that the action was compromised by the camera work and the editing. Too often during the action sequences in these episodes, it's either shot too close and there's too many quick cuts. I don't know if you felt the same way, but that's the main issue I've been having with the action sequences up until this one.
Well, I'm not sure about. I mean, I'm not really bothered by it. I'll admit though, when we had like the big moment where Daredevil like smiles like right before he shoots the gun last episode, it would have been nice if we kind of zoomed out just a little bit, just to kind of like make it more of a money shot, like when he with the smile. I don't know. I hear what you're saying. Sometimes they have been cutting a little bit extra, like in the first season, particularly, like when we have like some really great action bits. It's like we're kind of breaking it up a little bit in the cuts a bit. But anyway, but this one was a guarantee. At some point, we were going to get like a one-hour action sequence. Now, my hope is that maybe we'll get another one. But then again, I don't know if it's a thing where they don't want to gild the lily too much, because we usually it's like kind of a one per season kind of deal. But if there is going to be one per season, this is a pretty big moment to do it at. And it's actually kind of part of the pattern too, if you really think about it. Season 1, we had the one in episode 2, way back the early, original season 1. Original season 2 was like episode 3. Originals season 3 was in episode. I think that was episode. It was episode 3 or 4, whichever one had. I forget if 4 had the prison scene or not, but anyway, I think it was 4. Yeah, 4 was the prison. Anyway, the point being, it's early on, usually around the episode 3 or 4, between the first 3 to 4 episodes is when we get kind of the oneer. So it's kind of part of the tradition, And the first, if memory serves, premiere of Born Again. It was the oneer. We get the oneer right out the gate. So it's kind of part of the tradition, and it was a great moment in which to do it. And again, we have everyone. Again, it's a lot of characters conveyed. Matt is getting in there, and he's kind of taken aback by just like how many people have been captured here, and his instinct of like, okay, I can go for the cargo, or I can save people. He saves all the people. We get the swordsman in the action, so he's living it up, and he gives him like a rebarb to kind of maneuver as a sword because he knows that's his whole shtick. Just very well directed. I love when heroes save people. So I love when Daredevil saves people, which we have all throughout the sequence. And I love when he hears like, go in, weapons hot, where kill them all. We can't have anyone like spilling the beans essentially. And he evacs everyone. He brings down like the steam vent or something. It's just great. Again, it has shades of the big prison escape from the original Daredevil season 3. So that's which, of course, to me, it was like basically the ultimate oneer if you ever measure them up against each other. That was like the ultimate. That was the longest oneer they ever did.
Was it the longest one?
I think so. I mean, I don't know unless Born Again's opener like beat it in terms of runtime. Yeah, the prison scene was like a good 10 to a minimum. I think it was like 10 minutes, but I'd have to check. But it was a long scene. Remember, that was like the whole thing from the beginning when he was attacked in the little hospital, in the little prison hospital, to him leaving the prison, because he had also the scene with the Albanians. That counts. So that technically is the clock's still ticking during that scene.
Okay.
Even in Echo, we got the oneer. If you think about it, Daredevil's cameo in Echo was a oneer. It was great.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen Echo, so
the only time we haven't had the oneer was the appearance in She-Hulk. It was a good action scene though, but it would have been way too hard to do a oneer with that, or too expensive to do a oneer in that scene.
Yeah, they already spent all the money on the She-Hulk CG.
That's what I'm saying. Like, plus he's fighting She-Hulk. You can't do a oneer with She-Hulk. It's impossible.
Yeah, she would have one hit him and he'd be dead.
Yeah. So I love that fight though. But again, seriously, the best episode of She-Hulk was that Daredevil episode, hands down. Mind you, I'm biased, so I don't know. Anyway,
that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, but I still stand behind it, man. If anyone just like wants to skip She-Hulk, they have to watch that Daredevil episode.
That's reasonable. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, the point being, again, we can go on about how great the breakout scene was, done one take and everything. It was pitch perfect, and I think it's exactly what the show needed. And there's just, I think, time just right. Okay.
You think it was sorry? I just want to ask you: do you actually think it was one take, or do you think it was made to look that way in post production?
Oh no, it's made to look that way. So let me be clear. So when the way they do the even back then, technically since the beginning, they're made as, in the original Netflix show, they were made as one take as they could possibly be, but there are secret edits. Now, mind you, they were a lot more smooth than how they obscured that in the original 3 seasons. Like in Cutman, the first time they ever did it, there's like it's blink and you miss it, but it's it's very well done. And I want to say they probably used whatever technique they did for that, like for the other, for the other points in the season. So like they have like little bits, like kind of something comes towards the camera. There's your edit, and they still do it that way. It's just it's a little more like an Echo was very obvious, but it was, that's what I'm saying. Like the way they do it with the MC was like, it's kind of like a lightning in a bottle thing in terms of like it's still pretty flawless, but I'm saying if like to the skilled editors or the film fans out there, they can probably like, if you really pay attention to freezing, which we're all kind of programmed to do now, because we can't have nice things. We just have to like, wait a minute, is it really one take? It's like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not being like anal retentive about it, but it's just like, if you're
no,
aware
I
of
know.
these
I'm just
things,
saying there's
you
some
can tell,
people
but
are
it's
like that, though.
Yeah, no, but it's still no. Despite that, it's still very well done, and it's borderline seamless. It
Yeah,
was
no,
really
that's the
well
thing.
done.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like logical. At some point, there's no way to do like, at the very least, it'd be maddening to do an absolute
Oh,
one
no.
take
It'd
like
be
that.
fucking impossible. Like to do what they did during this sequence, it would be fucking impossible to do.
I mean, there's a chance Cutman actually was one take, but I'm pretty sure like I heard somewhere they used like the micro edit there, which basically is kind of what they do now. Just it's not as micro as they would like it to be.
Okay.
Okay, with that, let's transition to Braille Trail.
Okay, so you want to start with Dr. Glenn?
Yeah, sure. So Heather Glenn, she's something's not right upstairs with that lady.
No, you can tell that basically she's been irrevocably traumatized by her encounter with Muse, her nearly almost deadly encounter with Muse.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, as a result of her trauma, she's developed this blind hatred for mask wearing people, be they vigilantes or serial killers or what have you. And so she's allied herself with essentially a fascist city government, and she's perfectly willing to, fabricate a psychological profile to get someone convicted of murder and of attempted murder and vigilantism in a mock trial. She's been totally like gripped with fear, and you can tell when she's confronted by McDuffie outside the courthouse. I assume, from what I recall, it was the courthouse. It's like her blind hatred is such that I think this is intentional. She's sort of developed this major cognitive dissonance where it's like, yeah, Muse attacked you, but first of all, Muse wasn't a vigilante; he was a serial killer, and second, a vigilante saved you from Muse. Yeah, you shot him, but like you wouldn't have survived had Daredevil not saved you. But I think that cognitive dissonance is intentional on the part of the writers. I think we're supposed to be like, yeah, she's become so she was so traumatized that like she's had a bit of a psychotic break, and she's just it's warped her perception. She's become so consumed with fear that she can't think straight, and not only she hallucinated about Muse. I forgot to mention an Easter egg. When before she pulls out the Muse mask that she keeps hidden in her drawer, when I think she's about to hang a portrait up on her wall, and she hammers a nail in, right, and it creates this massive crack on her wall. And I think that was that was a definite Easter egg. That was meant to evoke the wall that Fisk would stare at when his mom was being abused. And of course, the art piece at the art gallery when he first met Vanessa, that they both sort of had an emotional connection to.
It was Rabbit in a Snowstorm.
Yeah, Rabbit in a Snowstorm. So yeah, I think that was a definite callback to that. And of course, it's an obvious visual metaphor for her psyche beginning to crack. And I think honestly, I don't know if you came to the same conclusion, but I think they're setting up her becoming Muse, like becoming a psychotic serial killer herself, maybe. And adopting the Muse moniker. I mean, she has the mask and everything.
Okay, so a few things unpacked there. All right. Okay, one, hanging a degree, not a painting.
Oh shit, yeah, degree, of course.
Okay,
Sorry.
two. Okay, so two. I look. I don't want to clip your wings, but I mean, it's an interesting read on it. I don't think we were going quite the rabbit in a snowstorm thing on that one. I don't think you're wrong necessarily. It's just, I mean,
I know I probably am. I
I'm just
probably am
saying, like, the
wrong.
wall
I'm
wasn't
probably way
really.
off.
I don't think the wall was white, if I recall. But look, even if it's not
Yeah.
1-to-1, it's just the fact of like. Plus, you got to remember too, like the correct thing you're thinking of, I think, was in the retooling with Echo when they recreated the Ravenous Snowstorm scene. I think the original was just a white, like crappily painted wall. I don't think it was like cracks and everything.
Okay. All right.
Like, because that's the thing. In Echo, they had a scene where we saw like the other side of the wall was being cracked and everything during the abuse, and it was like in like when she. I love that we reference basically one of my favorite episodes of Daredevil in Echo in the climax, but I still hated that climax because I hate the idea she basically she used her generational trauma
Well, yeah,
powers
she
on.
channeled the spirits of her ancestors,
I
right?
hated that we gave Echo powers. I hated that we gave her generational trauma powers. It was stupid. I hated it. I love the King. There's an episode right before the old. I think it was episode 5. Was like the all Kingpin episode, which I thought was brilliant. I love that episode. After that, though, it's the resolution is like, and unfortunately, Born Again season 1 was saddled with this. The idea of like, well, we have a great starting place for Kingpin. How do we get him there? Well, Echo transitioned us there in the stupidest way possible, which is not helping.
Yeah, I remember that clip making the rounds, and it was widely criticized and mocked. So yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of took away, like, it's a thing Kingpin would probably attempt on his own. Why does he have to have, like, it unlocked or something? I don't know. Anyway, the point being, so the primary thing with Heather Glenn to mention, but what you said. So yeah, there is a female muse in the comics. So that is.
Oh shit! I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
honestly
that's
didn't know
like, so
that.
there was a muse 2 or female muse. There's like a muse with like a long hair kind of thing. So yeah, there was a longish hair. Now I don't know if they're going to go full tilt with it, but at the very least, because that's the thing. Look, let me go this way. This was the original Netflix show. I don't think they put her in the full costume, but with Born Again, I mean, it's possible. I mean, she has the mask. I think more so would be an obsession, and she's hallucinating. And I think it's kind of like more of like symbolically she's mused to. They could go that way, but let me go this way. I don't think we'd have her suiting up until maybe next season if we did that. I think this is more of like the bare minimum. If she does suit up and become like another muse, I don't think we get that in this season. I think that's more of like we set that up this season. Then if we saw her again, then she would go completely down the rabbit. Especially if Fisk is defeated, and then it's like, well, no, someone has to finish his work, kind of thing.
Okay.
It's a guess. Okay, some other stuff to note here. Okay, so we're using Punisher's hideout from season 1, like Punisher's loft, like his little his little bunker. That's where we're interrogating the task force guy at the top of the episode. Little Easter eggs. I just realized, you might not be privy to that one because of the recap thing, but yeah. Let's see. Okay, Angela Del Toro. So she's in the episode. Of course, she's on the path of becoming the next White Tiger, which we built up last episode. And here she's using the claws. She slashes the tire. She's got the magic amulet, and she's next in line, and she's on her way.
And her costume looks terrible.
Well, again, it's not what the costume's going to look like. She's just wearing white.
I mean, yeah, but like I don't know. It's weird because I saw set photos where that it seems to imply that it seems to show that that is essentially her costume. It's just that she has yet to put the white tiger rag over her mouth, and that's going to be the extent of her.
Okay, well, at the very least, I think the idea is probably like anything goes. Like maybe by season 3, and we're actually going to have the Defenders and everything in there. Maybe we'll have her properly suited up. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Frankly,
I think we can give her enough leeway on that one. That okay, look, when we're going to get everyone to play with, maybe then we'll have her.
Maybe it's just it's just a placeholder costume. But here's the thing: even if she does get a better, more comic accurate costume, I just cannot buy that actress in that role. I cannot buy her as the new White Tiger or as a superhero vigilante of any kind.
You didn't see her in the first season though. She actually had really good scenes in the first one. She was
No. I am not I'm not questioning her acting. It's just that she is so tiny. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I know she's a teenager, and I know she's actually the actress herself is an actual teenager. I think she's only 16 years old.
Yeah.
No, she's very talented, and especially for her age. You know, she's only 16 years old, and she's she can deliver lines with conviction and actual emotion. No, she's really good. It's just that the entire time she's interacting with Karen, I was worried she was going to step on her. Like she is just insanely tiny. It's gonna be like security guard Gary Coleman during that Chappelle Show sketch when she's fighting bad guys. I'm just gonna be incapable of taking it seriously, and I feel so shitty saying that, but it's just like it's it's not her fault, but it's like
I think we've learned something about Superbilly. He's heightist.
Yes, I'm heightist. I was about to say, does that make me ableist? No, it's heightist. No, you're right. No, but and at first I'm thinking, okay, no, she's she's young, she's gonna get older, she's gonna grow into the role. But it's like, but then I'm thinking like, well, no, she's 16. I'm assuming she's already like completed puberty, so that's as tall as she's gonna get. So yeah, I don't know, but whatever. I like that they didn't.
He just hates short people, folks. Just don't let his words hurt you.
Exactly. I just hate short people. But I will give it this. I like that they didn't immediately make her like White Tiger. She wasn't full on like harnessing the mystical power of the amulet and kicking the shit out of people. I like that they're approaching this incrementally. You know, she's progressing at a gradual pace. You know, it's like all she does is that she steals the agent's two-way radios, and she slashes the tires, and she manages to obtain a key to an armored truck. You know, showcasing that she is intelligent, she is skilled, but she's not a full-on like superhero badass yet, which I appreciated.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I do like the progression. I like that we saw her, on a mission to save her aunt. Of course, very, very fitting place to start. Let's see. So the Safer Streets Act still going strong. We're still seeing the ramifications of that and all like the legal, red tape that it's kind of binding our vigilantes right now. We saw that in effect in the courtroom. So the Safer Streets Act is definitely, definitely a big bone of contention this season. Okay, so Cole North. So Cole North was, so he is the man who killed White Tiger, and
yes,
we all thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Yes, he killed Hector Ayala. We thought this guy was dead at the. Here's the thing. So Cole North is from the comics, and Cole North actually had a big arc in the comics. And a lot of people thought, man, that's kind of pointless that we had that guy in there. He killed Ayala, and then we seemingly blew him up, but we made him alive, which I was impressed by. Okay, somehow he's alive, and that gives me hope that we will do things with him. So basically, here we see he's a big jerk, still big dirty cop, but there is hope that we're going to do more with this guy. At the very least, we got unfinished business with him. Now, here's the thing: if we don't do anything if we have any task force guys like Cole North and Powell, they're the two lead kind of task force guys. If we don't have a resolution with them this season, the presumption is that they're on Punisher's list for his special at the end of this season. After we finish, we get the Punisher special.
Oh, okay. So do you think they did him bad just to have him killed again by the Punisher?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. This guy never really got a proper comeuppance because just the apartment blew up. So yeah, this guy. Well,
Yeah,
there's
true.
one. Okay, so in the comics, Cole North had a redemption arc. Now I don't know, given what this guy has done, I don't know if there's redeeming him, but at the very least, we're going to do something with this guy. So,
well, especially in fiction, I don't think anyone's really past redemption. But in that character's case, I would think the only reason they brought that character back was to redeem him or to give him some kind of arc.
Well, I'm saying that's the main reason to bring this guy, because in the comics, this guy had a redemption arc, I'm just saying.
I wasn't even aware of that. Yeah, so
I'm saying that, look, on its face, that is like, if we go off paper, that's what we're doing with this guy. I wonder, though, if we're going to, because we have Powell, we have North, and we saw a bit with Powell, where Powell, and this is kind of maybe a bit of a runner that we're having as well, is that Powell feels that he's a good cop, despite evidence being to the contrary. The guy's a complete scumbag. But the guy has a bit of a code. Like Cold North came to him hat in hand, and he without like, yeah, sure, come on back. Like, he had loyalty to his guy, and again, loyalty being this big runner thing, and of course, Mr. Charles calling that into question for the Kingpin. I think we're kind of mirroring that with our task force guys here, and Pal is getting closer to the Kingpin. Like, two of them, they share a hatred of Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Only Kingpin's in on the joke. And I wonder if perhaps we'll have a thing where Pal's going to have to turn on North, or maybe North by vice versa, or be a thing where Pal's going to be in position of having to kill North. I wonder if perhaps we're going to attempt a redemption on Pal instead of the North thing we're expecting. I don't know. At the very least, here's the thing. I'll bet you dollars to donuts we kill Pal in the Punisher special. That's got to be like the big cathartic, like if Punisher's hunting.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, I think Powell is unredeemable. Not necessarily because that's not a moral. That's not a moral, conclusion I've come to, that he's irredeemable. But like, I just think he's there to be, despite his only sort of the only attribute he has that's worth venerating is his loyalty to his men. But outside of that, he is just a corrupt, sadistic thug asshole. And I don't think there's going to be any more complexity or development given to his character. I think he's just there to be the douchebag that eventually gets his comeuppance, hopefully his violent comeuppance.
Now, I got to be honest. And again, maybe they'll sell me on with the Cold North thing. Because again, back at the end of Born Again, I was really thinking, the season 1, I was thinking, man, it's a missed opportunity that Pal wasn't the guy who killed White Tiger. Because that guy, we've established him. We keep bringing him back. We have the runner with like Matt Murdock beat the crap out of him, but he can't tell him he was beaten up by a blind guy. Or because, again, basically saying he tried to kill the blind attorney. I'm just saying that it's kind of a thing where you think Pal would have been like the face guy to, like, he's the face of the task force. He's like the guy. He would have been the one who committed this heinous act against White Tiger, and he would be the one that we're, kind of dying for. So them bringing Cold North back is going to be really interesting. And regardless, though, if the rumors are to be believed, this Punisher special is going to be him hunting down the task force guys that got away. If any task force guys are going to get away, Pal's got to be the one, right?
Oh, definitely.
And because everyone wants, like, Pal's blood, because everyone hates this Pal guy, but in the best of ways. But by the way, the actor who plays Pal, I'm blanking on his name, but he was really good on Mayor of Kingstown as well, playing a dirty cop there.
Is he typecast as dirty cops, I wonder?
As in my experience so far, yeah. I'd like to think, sometimes the nicest guys play the worst scumbags. So, maybe he's a sweet guy, but he probably gets typecast.
Well, he does a good job, certainly.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, his performance, more than even the writing, makes his character just so contemptible.
Yep. All right, let's see. Not a whole lot left here. Is Vanessa? I always go on about the color theory, like I mentioned, the whole red, white, and black thing, which I could go on forever about stuff. Let's just say, continuing it, Vanessa's still wearing the red dress, man. She is still wearing the red. She's again symbolic of a lot of things. Kingpin's relationship and his lust for kind of like the going toe to toe with Daredevil. Maybe a Freudian implication there. I don't know. The point being, it's the relationship between the white of Kingpin, the red of Daredevil, and it's with the woman that he loves. Vanessa's in danger. Vanessa is killed Foggy. There's like the lust for the violence. It's the blood. It's the passion. It's the romance. Again, her wearing the red is I don't think it's by accident. It's like she's wearing a lot of red this season.
No, I love how their toxic relationship, and I love how she's almost as ruthless and psychotic as he is, and power hungry.
Like, Kingpin tried to not kill people. She killed the beloved Ray Nadeem. That was her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She killed
Nadeem. She killed Foggy. She killed the most.
I was about to say she killed Foggy. She hired Bullseye to kill Foggy. Yeah.
She killed Foggy. She killed Nadeem. She's like, she also killed like the guy she cheated on her husband with.
Granted, that was a mercy killing, right?
Sort of. I mean, look. You say mercy, I'm not going to take that away from you, but I'm just, kind of a mercy killing, but also it's like, I think she deep down was like she was more touched by seeing like her husband like go to bed. Like says, I will torture this man. I will not kill him because I love you. I think that was more of like a gesture, like, oh, bam, that's my thank you to you, husband. I will kill this man.
And regardless, the point is if she were a good person, she would have killed Kingpin the moment she
Yeah,
found him in the dungeon. Yeah, so
yeah. All right, let's see. Again, we did the tradition of the Daredevil oneers, the oneer fight scene. We did that. Okay, so blowing up the ship again, kind of a similar moment to the radio conversation with Daredevil, where Daredevil gets framed by way back in season one of Daredevil. We thought that was Bullseye, believe it or not. It wasn't because we introduced him in season three, but their backup plan was before they got to season three. That was Bullseye. Bullseye was the sniper that killed shot the cops, caused all the chaos that basically framed the man in the mask for. Anyway, the point being, just like the move, like Daredevil, like kind of like explosion and just kind of all this, all this kind of bedlam happening. Daredevil's kind of being kind of caught in the middle of it and is reacting to it helplessly as Kingpin has kind of done this big move. So I'm just saying it kind of is indicative of it to me. The big one I was proud of, I called in the beginning, and maybe it's not a creative thing to call, but I was eager when they didn't see episode one. The payoff with the watch. I love the fact that I knew this was having Daredevil wants to track it because I thought it was so darn clever during the big Northern Star boat scene at the top of the season. Like, grabs a watch off a guy, puts it in the container with one of the weapons, so he'll be able to find it later. And he'll be able to track it, so he'll be able to find out where Kingpin's storing these weapons.
it's when I first binged the episodes, I completely forgot he planted the watch as a tracker. I completely forgot about
I
that.
thought it was so darn clever in episode one. I was like, oh man, that's such a great idea because that's exactly what he can do with it. Yes. And we
Yeah, and it
saw it
worked.
pay off here where like he knew, okay, the weapons are here, but the people are here. I gotta pick one. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like their entire game plan was locating the smuggled weapons and destroying them, and then I'm assuming getting video evidence or
Yeah,
reporting.
yeah, yeah. Basically, it was like we're gonna. I forget their plan was just destroy them all, but like take pictures before destroying them, or basically destroy them all, but maybe the one crate with the watch in it. So
Yeah, but now those weapons are more than likely going to be gone forever, and Kingpin destroyed the capsized vessel, the North Star, and everyone on it.
yeah, that's the thing. So we learned that so the weapons were successfully unloaded. So again, because Daredevil couldn't, he couldn't destroy them. So yeah, they're in the wind. They're going to the bad people, which means Kingpin's in good graces of Mr. Charles and the CIA. They've destroyed the Northern Star, which is their evidence, and the people on it, just like Mr.
Northern
Charles said to.
Star. Sorry, is it North Star and
Well, no, no.
Epsilon?
Okay, you know what's funny about that though? Okay, it's exactly what you said. So they haven't 100% confirmed. Sorry, let me back up here. Okay, so the ship is called Northern Star. Now, to me, to you, seemingly that was a foreshadow of Bullseye, given he appears at the end of that episode. Like the North, his whole thing was like the North Star being like his moral compass thing, like the thing that kept him stable. Now, you and I think pretty much everyone kind of read that, and I think it's a clever little foreshadow. Now, apparently, according to Charlie Cox, he wanted it to be called, the North. I think originally, if Charlie Cox is to be believed, I'm not saying he's like lying about it, but I don't know like who if he had the actual conversation or if it's like him speculating. This is why I'm unsure. So he's being Charlie Cox is he's an English actor. He has trouble saying Northern, so he really preferred back when it was like North Star. So originally it was the North Star. And sorry, whether or not this is like an actual like retooling, I don't know. But basically, he says he wished it was called the North Star. And he asked him, "Can we just call it the North Star?" Now he speculated like, I don't think we were able to call it the North Star because of Dex's thing with the North Star. But if we're going to introduce Bullseye at the end anyway, and we could have called that ship anything, like anything but North, it's like literally any other name. Why? It just feels it's too cool. It's too specific to be a coincidence. It had to be like, they didn't just want, maybe any way you sliced it was supposed to be in reference to like a foreshadow for Dex, but it was like, we'll call it Northern, so maybe people won't pick up on it immediately.
Yeah, so it's not too obvious.
Yeah. Anyway, uh, Also, one last thing. We saw the video from season during the BB, not the BB report, but during the City Without Fear video. We saw the clip from season 1 of Born Again of the swordsman, in his proto swordsman outfit, which is basically a fencing costume.
A really lame looking fencing costume. But
well, again, that's why we're showing it like a crappy cell phone video, and we kind of we use it again here, where it's like, well, he's just kind of starting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think Daredevil isn't the only one who deserves a good costume. Who should get a good costume.
Like Daredevil, everyone's gonna get an upgrade. Relax, everyone's gonna get an upgrade.
Too bad that's not going to be Bullseye, at least until next season, maybe if he even lasts that long.
He's got to last. Come on, Bullseye.
I hope so, and I hope he gets a more comic accurate costume at some point. Because
one of
so lame.
Okay, look, his outfit is from one of the comics, though.
Is it though? Is it?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't know if you noticed. Okay, so his outfit is like from, I forget what the specific comic. You can find it somewhere. There's elements of Bullseye costumes that they've kind of like mixed in there, but primarily the overall one that he's wearing is like something from the comics. Now they retooled it this season. They retooled it because of the vigilante thing, which I think once he actually has a scene with him, we'll probably tell him about. You'll notice he's got the symbol on the mask now, and he's got like the stripes, and then when we put him in the blue lighting, it's like the Daredevil effect. With the black costume and the red lighting, it looks, pretty dead on. We put him in the blue lighting with his color gimmick. It looks a lot like the blue Bullseye outfit. You have like the little white stripes and stuff on the symbols. So it's I don't know. It's a pretty down to earth way of doing the Bullseye thing. If he could basically pull that down the bottom part of the mask, he would look pretty. I think that's as realistic and dead on as we can get it. Because he's got like all the he's got the weapons on him. I know it's not white gloves, but it's it's next best thing. I don't know. I'm saying yes. If the mouth were exposed, I would think it would. If we could alter the mask a bit, he would be more dead on. I don't know. I thought it was a good compromise, but then again, they're making tweaks this season. If he comes back, again, it'll probably be tweaked more. I don't know.
To me, he looks like a schlubby purple version of Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe.
Well, I'm not seeing purple. I don't know that.
Kind of purplish, at least from the set photos. It's kind of purplish,
I think that's a lot of. You got to see it in context of lighting and filters and stuff, man. I don't think you can trust.
Yeah. I think I did see purple when he kills the AVTF agents.
Nah, I don't think
elevator. I think I saw purple.
No, that wasn't. No, that was the blue effect. That was like the blue, like violet.
The blue turned his costume into purple.
No, I'm saying it's not. You're talking to the wrong guy. I also suffer from color paranoia, so I'm not the guy to. So I mean, don't make me paranoid about hues and everything. I'm pretty sure it's blue.
Okay.
I'm saying his costume in the comics is blue. It's never been purple. I would imagine purple would be, if they do purple.
I know.
If they do purple, it's going to be Jessica Jones, and that's a whole different than one.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I think we've that about wraps it up with the Braille Trail. So that all right. So I think. I guess any final thoughts on the episode? Any parting words?
No, I think I've pretty much said everything. I mean, I generally avoided more major criticisms. I mean, I actually, upon reflection and upon rewatching the episode, I don't really have major criticisms. I have certain things that bother me. There are certain characters I'm interested in more than others. Some aspects are better than others, but like ultimately, I think the show is good overall. And I'm looking forward to the remaining episodes, and I hope it pays off. And I hope what few complaints I do have are addressed, or the aspects I think that are faulty improve over the course of the season. So I don't know. So I think I wish I had a little more time to sort of dwell on this show to really gauge how I feel about it. But at this point, at this stage, I think it's good, despite my issues, which I haven't really gone all that much into, but still. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm loving the direction of season 2 so far. I'm hearing like the looks of it, just knowing even just title alone. I'm looking forward to the next episode, and it sounds like from what the reports are, like episodes 4 onward are going to be really good. So I'm very excited for it. Just even this episode by itself. I mean, just getting to that breakout scene, seeing Daredevil do heroic things like that, and just seeing like the need for the abolishment of this safer streets Red Hook thing that's gripping New York. I'm invested. I want to see Daredevil win the day. With the things are like insurmountable for him going up against the Kingpin, and how he's got his hooks into everything. So his red hooks into everything. We'll see what happens. So I'm still very invested. I mean, I don't think we haven't surpassed the original yet, but this again this season is definitely like a genuine attempt at it versus what we had in season 1. All right, that's all for now. Until the next daring installment of Discerning Daredevil, Born Again.